Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Ayrton Houk of how's it going, of the Team USA scholarship for one of them this year. How's it going?
Yeah, Casey, thank you so much. Happy to be here. Glad we got a time. We've been juggling around, but I'm glad we got a time nailed down. Yeah, just happy to be here and just got back from the Team USA Scholarship with my teammate Jack Sullivan a couple weeks ago. So just getting adjusted back to the American lifestyle again.
Okay, so how long have you been back?
I got back on November 9th. So I think it's about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks now.
Okay. All right. So before we really get into this, I think a lot of people need to, kind of just introduce yourself and then kind of talk about how you kind of got into racing.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm Ayrton Houk. I'm 20 years old from McCordsville, Indiana. I got into racing just being from Indianapolis, the Indy 500 every year, seeing that. I've kind of grown up in racing, and the path that I've taken was not as traditional as most racing. I started racing off-road motorcycles, actually, and I was racing off-road motorcycles since I was 4 years old with my father. And I got brought up racing motorcycles until I was, I think, 13. And then that's when we made the transition to go-karts because my father raced go-karts out of college. He was a shifter kart racer. And I started seeing photos of him around the house, and I thought those looked pretty cool. So I wanted to try go-karting out. When I turned 13, we made the jump over to that. I raced Yamaha, Can, and LO206 for about 4 years, all local races. We never really went national racing. And then I got my first taste of a car with the Lucas Oil School of Racing series. They are an American-based racing series, and I did my first ever day in a car at Road America with them for their basic 2-day school. And from there, I ended up racing Formula 1600 for Brad Hayes Racing for a year, as well as doing a Kenyan Midget Series program, which is an oval dirt and asphalt racing series that was formerly ran by the Kenyan brothers, has since been bought by Brad Hayes Racing. I raced 2 years in the Kenyan Midget Series program, learning how to drive on dirt and asphalt and ovals, while also racing a year with Team Pelfrey in Formula 1600. And then this most recent year, I raced a second year of Formula 1600 with Rice Racing. And from there, I got picked up from Jeremy Shaw with the Team USA Scholarship. And I was just given the trip of a lifetime, thanks to all of the Team USA supporters and Jeremy Shaw, to go over to England and compete over in England at the Formula Ford Festival and the Walter Hayes Trophy and live over there for 7 weeks.
Okay, so obviously the scholarship in its 31st year is has obviously produced some of the best American racers that currently race in IndyCar, in IMSA, in NASCAR, all across the board. So going into what when you first okay, before, we gotta go back a little bit. Let's go when you first found out that you were actually going to do this, like go to England. What was your first initial reaction?
I was just overcome with joy because I've been invited to the Team USA shootout for 3 years now. In the first 2 years, I wasn't selected as a winner of the scholarship. So then this year, when I finally got it, I was just overcome with joy, knowing that I get to be a part of such a historical and very professional organization that has really bred some of the amazing American drivers that are competing at the top level of motorsports today.
Okay. So then you get to England after the long flight.
Mhm.
Um, what was it like to just get used to, a different culture,
Yeah.
different way of life?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a shock for the first couple of days. The jet lag was pretty bad. I got over that in a couple of days, but everything on the left side of the road, everything left side of the sidewalks, walking and everything, that was a bit weird to get used to, as well as just the food, the grocery stores, the different types of shops they have there. And I was told like the weather was going to be a bit spotty, but most of the time we were there, actually the weather was gorgeous. It was about 60 and sunny most days, so that was pretty nice. It was actually warmer over there than it was back in the States. But overall, it did take a bit getting used to. I think it wasn't that different from the lifestyle that I've lived in America, but that might just be because I was living in my lifestyle just over in the UK. So me and Jack might have been living a bit differently than most other people, just doing the American traditions. But overall, it wasn't really that odd to get used to. The biggest thing was just getting used to the different foods they have over there. It wasn't like many of the American stores. It was a bit different.
So how did your okay, so I know competing in the Formula Ford Festival and for the Walter Hayes Trophy. Okay, kind of how did you do overall?
Yeah, I think well, I was running for Ammonite Motorsport, and the car had a ton of pace in it. We were doing really good at the Formula Ford Festival. I brought a fourth in qualifying, and I got a podium in my heat race. And then coming into the semifinal, I was battling for fourth position. It was still a kind of a damp track, so coming through um, final corner, I got a bit loose and I touched the curb on the exit, which on a dry track wouldn't have been any big deal, but there was a puddle on the curb. Took the rear end out from me, got out into the kitty litter, and I dropped from fourth to 13th in the pre-final. Battled back up to I think 10th, but then I had to start 19th in the final, and then battled up to 14th. So I mean, we had a ton of pace at the Formula Ford Festival. I just made a slight mistake, and it just really set us back for the final. And then the Walter Hayes Trophy, we were very quick there. Our qualifying was a bit odd. It was a very wet session. Jack and I were in the same session there. We went out for qualifying. We got one time by under green, and then they threw a safety car during our qualifying session, which was very odd. Never seen anything like that happen before. But we ended up only getting that one time lap. So I ended up seventh and Jack ended up fifth. And in the heat race, it was pretty much just front lead follow pretty much the whole time because the spray was so terrible. Coming into the semifinal, I started ninth, I believe. I had a terrible start. I dropped back to 16th at one point and battled my way back up to fourth position in the pre-final. Really good starting spot for the final I had, but with 2 laps to go in the pre-final, someone came down inside of me into Brooklyn's super late move, carrying way too much speed, and they just slid straight up into my left side, bending my whole left rear corner, and just kind of crippling my car for the rest of the session. I had to just limp it back to the checkered flag. Ended up dropping from fourth down to 16th and just killing my starting spot for the final. Started 31st and passed 17 cars in the final, drove it back up to 14th. So both race weekends, we had a ton of pace. We had pace to be right up at the front of the pack. It was just a bit of bad luck on both pre-final days that kind of set us back on the finals.
What's going to be the biggest thing that you like take away from this experience?
Yeah, biggest takeaway. I think me and Jack have both had this question and we both have pretty much the same answer. Our biggest takeaway is just the learning and the racing knowledge that we've gained from being in the UK. The racing over there is incredibly tight. Everybody is very much on pace. First place through like last place, everyone's running extremely similar lap times. So minimizing mistakes and maximizing on any opportunity you can, as well as just finding the limit of the car quickly and getting right up to the limit as fast as you can, because all those guys are on it. And if you make a slight mistake, I mean, you're just going back. So maximizing every single opportunity you can, pushing the car to its full limit, and just staying focused and minimizing mistakes are probably the 3 biggest takeaways I take from the experience.
Did you know Jack before this?
Yeah, Jack and I have competed together for 2 years now in the FRP Formula Race Promotions series over here in America, racing Formula 1600. And we were good friends before we went over, so it's nice to be able to live with someone that I'm used to and someone that I'm friends with. It made the experience a bit easier to get used to as well.
Okay. Let's okay, so what was it like, getting back to the States, getting used to everything? Did you sleep for 2 days or something?
Actually, the trip back was a lot easier than the trip there. The jet lag was only for about one day. And at first, it was a bit odd. Everything's on the right side again. I was just a bit weirded out again, but I got over that in a day or two. And then just kind of back to my own lifestyle again. Getting back into the gym was nice. Sleeping in my own bed for the first time in 2 months was nice. That was good. Seeing my dog, seeing my family, getting to see all my friends now that they're back from college, and just really putting my head down and finding partners to go into USF 2000 next year. That's been number one on my to-do list.
Okay. Um, all right. So like, yeah, you just took my next question. So obviously you want to get into USF 2000 next year. What is what's that like trying to find rides and find doing all that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a journey, but we really have our eyes set on USF 2000. We've been trying to make it in for the past couple of years now. I've done a couple of test days with Pabst Racing in the past, but this year we've got our eyes set on another team. We are hoping to make it to the Sebring test here in December, and I'm just talking to previous supporters and reaching out to new supporters, trying to get a budget together to get into USF 2000 this upcoming 2024 season.
All right. All right. Let's get to know you a little bit. How about that?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Favorite food.
Favorite food. Oh, this takes me back to the UK. Me and Jack would have steak and egg fried rice almost every single day. And that was a good dish. Him and I, we loved that dish and we ate it pretty much every day. So that's got to be right there at the top of the list.
What was the biggest thing that you had to adjust to when you got back home?
When I got back home, biggest adjustment is probably just all the time now, because when we were over there we were pretty much on a good schedule. Jeremy had us doing great things, so we had our days planned out. Now I've just got time and I'm just trying to figure out how to use it the best way possible.
Okay. You mentioned you have pets. What kind of dog do you have?
Yeah, so we've actually got quite a few. I have two black labs named Tito and Tabby. We have a cat that lives in our barn named Charlie, and we have two horses in our barn out back. One is named DG, and the other one is named Rocket.
Nice. Favorite let's see. Favorite driver growing up.
Favorite driver, Scott Dixon.
Okay.
Always
Um,
been a role model to me.
most famous person you've ever met.
Ooh, most famous person I've met. Let me think. Um, Driver wise, probably Scott Dixon, and then not driver wise. I don't think I've ran into too many celebrities. I think yeah, I think Scott's right there at the top of the list.
Yeah. Favorite movie.
Ooh, favorite movie. I really like Top Gun. The original. I like the second one as well. I like the original Ford versus Ferrari and Rush and Tron Legacy. That was my favorite movie as a kid growing up.
Um, okay, favorite TV or streaming show that you're really into right now.
Me and Jack got into watching Suits while we were over there. I'd watched it originally.
Yeah.
I introduced it to him, but that's a great show. Love that show.
Yeah. Let's see. What what is a racing goal that you have for this coming year?
This coming year,
Yeah.
um, obviously the goal would be to win the USF 2000 championship. That's been my goal for a while now, but I think a couple of podiums and maybe a couple of wins would really demonstrate the talents that we have behind us.
Favorite track.
Favorite track, I love Mid Ohio. I loved Brands Hatch. I mean, that was a great track. That was a ton of fun. Silverstone would be a ton of fun in a little bit bigger of a car. It was really big for the Formula Fords. But I think either Brands Hatch or Mid Ohio.
Okay. Let's see. Um, and finally, what is your go-to? What no, actually, what is your go-to place for food?
Go to food place. Ooh, that's hard because I love food. So I mean, I'm all over. But right now, I think I have to go with Chipotle. There's one right next to my gym, so that one's got to be a go-to. And every now and then I'll hit a McDonald's if I have to get some calories in pretty quick because there's some high calorie options on the McDonald's menu.
Absolutely. And finally, what is something people do not know about you?
Ooh, let me think. Something people don't know about me would have to be, usually people don't know just the amount of animals we've got at our house. I mean, it just listed off 5 of them. We've had more in the past, but we're a big animal family, so I love animals.
All right. All right. Well, Ayrton, thank you so much for the time as always, and congrats on all your successes out in the UK. And let's have you on again sometime.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Casey. I'd love to join back in anytime you need.